All right, guys, so to go with our foil packet dinners, we are going to be making jasmine rice. I absolutely love jasmine rice. It is so fragrant and it's just a different texture. I just absolutely love jasmine rice. If you don't like jasmine rice, you could use any kind of rice you want. If you were on keto and you're not doing carbs, whatever, by all means, make yourself some more vegetables. But here in this house, we like our carbohydrates. So I have my little pot here, and I've already pre-measured out my rice. The thing with cooking rice is that it's a 1-to-2 ratio, okay? So for every 1 cup of rice, you need 2 cups of liquid. That's how you measure that out. Now, you could use absolutely just water and follow package instructions. But when do we ever do that? We don't. So here's how we're gonna cook our rice tonight. So I have mine on my back burner. I'm going to turn it to medium heat, okay? We're gonna let that pot get nice and warm. So for our liquid, instead of using water, we are gonna use chicken stock. Chicken is a very mild flavor, and you don't want something to overpower what you're already eating with the shrimp and with the salmon. So I would advise against using something like, beef stock or something like that. If you are pescatarian, you could also use vegetable stock or seafood stock. Both of those would taste amazing. Although I feel like the seafood might overpower the flavor of a jasmine rice, I would tell you to just use regular long grain rice if you're gonna be using a seafood stock. Little trick I've learned is to use a little bit of olive oil in the bottom of your pan, and we're gonna just lightly toast our rice before we actually boil it. It changes everything about your rice if you lightly toast it first. Not to mention the fact that we're coating all those grains of rice with this oil, and it's not gonna stick. Rice used to be something that I was absolutely intimidated by. I could never make rice that wasn't just this pot of white gelatinous mass. It was terrible. It was gummy and it turned out like glue, and it didn't matter what I was doing. Like, I would follow the package instructions to a T, and I still could not do it. One of the things I've learned is that when you're following a package instruction with rice, they tend to tell you to really overcook it. I like to actually taste the individual grains of rice, and the way you do that is by not boiling it for as hard and as long, and also toasting it in this olive oil. So again, this is a 1-to-2 ratio. So for my family size, I have 2 cups of rice in here, which means we're gonna need 4 cups of liquid. So now that my olive oil is nice and warm, I'm going to just simply put the rice into it. And I'm just going to stir this around. And I've used probably about 1.5 tablespoons of olive oil. Obviously, you're going to use less than that if you don't have a family my size. Like if you're cooking for a family, just you and your husband, or a family of 3 or 4, I would probably tell you to use right about less than 1 tablespoon of the olive oil. So now that I've moved this around, and it looks like I've pretty well coated all of the rice, now we're just gonna still leave this on medium heat, but we're just gonna gently move this around until we get a nice toasted color on our rice. And I'll show you what I mean. All right, so we are just lightly toasting our rice. As you can see in here, I've gotten all of these grains coated with that olive oil. I've got it on medium heat, and I'm just moving the rice around. But don't be afraid to let it sit in one location for a couple of minutes. You're not gonna burn it. Remember, you're on medium heat. You don't have this on high. You're not gonna just annihilate your rice, okay? Side note, again, is there a better mustache? No, there's not. Maybe Tom Selleck in Knight Rider, but no, there's not. There's not a better mustache out there. There's just not. All right, so we are lightly toasting our rice. Look at the nice golden color we have on this now. Like I said, lightly toasted. I'm not talking about when you're 17 and you haven't seen the sunlight since November and you're covered in bronzer, okay? Number one, nobody believes that you have that kind of tan. Number two, we don't want our rice to be that dark, okay? So just something nice and light. That's all we're going for here. So now we're gonna get ready to add our liquid. If you are using jasmine rice, you're also gonna know that you've got a nice toast point when you smell it. It is this beautiful, light but florally almost aroma, and it is just absolutely lovely. You are gonna really enjoy that smell. So again, a 1-to-2 ratio, and we are using chicken stock for our liquid instead of water. I have 2 cups of rice in here that we're toasting, so I'm gonna need 4 cups of my liquid. So as I add my liquid 1 cup at a time, I'm gonna bring this to a boil. So here's my first cup. We're gonna raise this up to, for mine, level 8. So we're gonna go medium high. That's what we're gonna call that. We're just gonna coat every piece. And we're gonna repeat this. Remember, I just said that we just did cup number 1. We're gonna do this 3 more times. We're gonna bring this up to a boil. I just wanted to make a little side note here that if you are using this particular brand, the fluid ounces is 32. Honestly, brand really doesn't make a difference. Fluid ounces is what makes the difference on this. 32 fluid ounces for me. Guess what? For my family size, I know exactly that I need 1 box because 1 box of these is 4 cups of liquid. So I know that when I'm doing mine, I just need 1 of those boxes. I wouldn't actually have to measure it out each time, but for the sake of teaching, we measured it out today. All right, so now we have brought our rice up to a boil. It has been boiling for approximately 2 minutes. We're gonna let this boil for 2 more minutes. Then we're gonna bump it down to medium heat, medium low almost. We're gonna cover it and we're gonna set a timer. We're gonna leave it alone for 10 minutes. That's right, leave it alone. Have faith in what you're doing. Don't touch it. Moment of truth. Bump it down. Cover it. Set a timer. Don't touch it. All right, guys, so it's been 10 minutes. We are going to look at our jasmine rice. Look at that. You can see every grain of rice. It is not some white blob. And it smells absolutely amazing. Now, I do my rice pretty much the same way every time. You could turn the heat off now at this point, and you could just simply add some salt and pepper and call it a day. I'm not gonna do that though. So remember yesterday we did our swordfish steaks and we made that herbed compound butter? Well, I didn't use all of it. I told you it was a lot. I have some of it left. So I'm gonna take this, put it into that, and I'm gonna close the lid on it again. Add a little bit more flavor to our rice. You saw that I put my herb butter in. This is some of the fresh parsley that I chopped from yesterday that was left over, about 2 pinchfuls. And then I just put my normal seasoning mix on it. This is the same seasoning mix that I put into our breadcrumbs. So you're gonna tie in that flavor. That had the granulated garlic, the granulated onion powder. It had the minced dried garlic, as well as a tiny little bit of red pepper flake. All right, guys, it's time to take our foil packets and our tomatoes out of the oven. Let's see, fruits of our labors. Now, for your tomatoes, if you really wanted to get like this really crispy crust on the top of them, which I do, I'm going to move the rack in my oven up because I'm going to broil them for maybe a minute, not long. So after just 90 seconds of broiling, look at that beautiful color we have on that tomato. Perfect, 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 perfect. All right, so we've got our jasmine herbed rice, we have our tomato, and we have our foil packet dinners. It's time to plate it all up. All right, so We had this at 350 for about 20 minutes. We're gonna open it up. And look at what we made, you guys. Look at the salmon and the shrimp done perfectly. The zucchini, absolutely amazing. And now we're gonna plate this up with our herbed rice, our herbed jasmine rice, and our roasted tomato.